Hello and welcome. I'm Saeed from StoryPlanet.net. Dive right into the essence of the most captivating books without reading them cover to cover. Whether you're on the go, at the gym, or just relaxing at home, we offer you a unique and enriching listening experience. Today, we are exploring the book, The Flight, a creation by Dan Hampton. The Flight, 2017, is a captivating narrative of Charles Lindbergh's historic solo Atlantic crossing from New York to Paris. Author Dan Hampton not only delves into Lindbergh's experience in the cockpit, but also provides valuable historical and biographical insights that highlight the significance of the spirit of St. Louis's flight. Before we delve into these revelations, it's interesting to note that Dan Hampton, a former United States Air Force officer, is a New York Times best-selling author. He served for 20 years, receiving numerous honors such as a Purple Heart and 4 Distinguished Flying Crosses. His prior works include Viper Pilot and The Hunter Killers. With 7 key ideas to unveil, brace yourself for a deep dive into this captivating book on StoryPlanet.net. To start, opportunity to be Charles Lindbergh's co-pilot on a transatlantic flight. This text discusses Charles Lindbergh's historic solo flight across the Atlantic in the 1920s, emphasizing the significance of his achievement during a challenging time in America. It highlights the difficulty of the feat at the time and the admiration Lindbergh garnered for his accomplishment, shedding light on why he was regarded as a hero. Key idea number 1. Charles Lindbergh's transatlantic flight was both significant and risky. In 1927, Charles Lindbergh took off from New York on a solo flight to Paris, attempting to be the first to fly across the Atlantic Ocean non-stop. Previous attempts by others had ended tragically. Lindbergh sought to claim a prize for this feat and prove the potential of aviation. His successful flight would open doors for advancements like international mail and passenger flights, shaping the future of aviation. Key idea number 2. The Spirit of St. Louis was an ideal aircraft for setting records. Lindbergh's success during his transatlantic flight depended heavily on his plane, the Spirit of St. Louis. The aircraft was specifically designed for this mission by aeronautical engineer Don A. Hall and had a powerful engine, the Wright Whirlwind Model J5C. The fuel tanks were large, obstructing Lindbergh's view, but necessary for safety reasons. Extra fuel was required for the long flight, which made the plane heavier, impacting its design and necessitating the removal of certain essentials like a parachute to ensure reaching the destination. Key idea number 3. The Lindbergh family was ambitious, and Charles Lindbergh had a natural pilot's temperament. Charles Lindbergh, known as Slim, was a remarkable pilot with a family history of ambition and risk-taking. He was born into a tumultuous family environment but inherited a strong work ethic and ambition. Lindbergh's interest in aviation began at a young age, leading him to drop out of college to pursue flying. He gained experience through barnstorming events before becoming a contract airmail pilot. Lindbergh's meticulous planning and exceptional piloting skills ultimately led to his historic transatlantic flight on the Spirit of St. Louis. Key idea number 4. Lindbergh's flight brought hope to a struggling America. By the end of World War I, aviation was literally and figuratively taking off. With the aid of military manufacturing, planes had been greatly improved and streamlined over the course of the war. In terms of maneuverability, ailerons had been added, which are the hinged flaps on the back of a wing, and they made controlling the planes far easier than before. Engines also improved, from 80 horsepower in 1914 to 200 horsepower by the time peace was declared in 1918. And even after the war, aviation kept improving. One of the major inspirations for Lindbergh happened in May of 1919, when Lieutenant Commander Albert Cushing. Reed successfully flew across the Atlantic, from Trepassey, Newfoundland, to Plymouth, England. While the state of aeronautics at the time meant Reid had to stop 6 times along the way, the achievement captivated people around the world, including 17-year-old Lindbergh. Furthermore, Lindbergh's uplifting plans coincided with a particularly downcast period in U.S. history. First, there was Prohibition, which began on January 17, 1920, when the 18th Amendment was passed, outlawing the production and consumption of alcohol. Yet what this did was create a $3 billion illegal alcohol industry and a massive increase in organized crime. Prohibition also provided a platform for a very vocal evangelical contingent of the population to preach their pure and sober values. One particularly zealous group was the Methodist Board of Temperance, Prohibition and Public Morals, which proposed that anyone caught drinking alcohol should be hung by their tongue and sterilized. Other supposed threats to American values were communism and anarchism. Panic peaked in April 1919 when a series of letter bombings targeted at least 36 prominent politicians and public figures. Fortunately, no one was killed, but nerves were certainly rattled and paranoia threatened to undermine America's multiculturalism. So, when Charles Lindbergh took to the air, it wasn't just the future of aviation that rested on his shoulders. America desperately wanted something to celebrate. Indeed, when Lindbergh flew out over the icy Atlantic waters, the nation was holding its breath. Key idea number 5, Lindbergh faced numerous challenges during his flight. On May 20, 1927, Charles Lindbergh faced challenges during his solo flight. He was tired after not sleeping for 23 hours, navigated through darkness, battled cold temperatures at 10,000 feet, and dealt with visibility issues. Lindbergh used methods like focusing on his logbook and physical movements to stay awake during this historic flight across the Atlantic Ocean. Key idea number 6. Lindbergh became an instant celebrity upon landing in Paris. Charles Lindbergh completes a solo transatlantic flight from New York to Paris in 33 hours and 30 minutes, 3 hours faster than expected. Lindbergh faces challenges navigating to Le Bourget airfield in Paris at night, but successfully lands the Spirit of St. Louis amidst a crowd of 100,000 cheering spectators. Lindbergh is overwhelmed by the warm reception, with authorities initially planning to whisk him away for safety. Lindbergh's feat is met with significant media attention and public celebration upon his arrival in Paris. Key idea number 7. Charles Lindbergh was a celebrated aviator who earned international honors, despite his problematic relationship with the media. After Lindbergh's famous flight to Paris in 1927, he received numerous honors and accolades in Europe and the United States, solidifying his fame. Despite his reluctance for the spotlight, Lindbergh's achievements led to a lifetime of public attention and various opportunities. His fame was further complicated by personal tragedies, including the kidnapping and death of his youngest child. Lindbergh's involvement with the America First Committee was controversial, but he ultimately played a significant role in World War II, flying combat missions and providing technical expertise. Lindbergh's later years were spent in Hawaii until his passing in 1974. In conclusion, a book discusses Charles Lindbergh's 1927 solo transatlantic flight as a groundbreaking achievement in aviation history that required expert skills, courage, determination, and engineering. The flight remains a significant milestone in both aviation and American history. Further reading recommendation. One Summer by Bill Bryson focuses on the pivotal events of the summer of 1927 in American history. Thank you for listening to this summary. If you enjoyed this exploration, we invite you to discover other fascinating books on StoryPlanet.net. Don't wait any longer. A multitude of books, stories, and knowledge await you there. See you soon on StoryPlanet.net.